Hey, yo, lovely people. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Schulering Hub podcast, Talking Hospitality. I am your host, Mauricio Schüler, and today we are exploring the worlds of words and stories. We are talking copywriting. And for this, I invited Maria Navarro. Thank you, Maria. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mauricio. I'm so excited and so happy to be here today talking with you.
Now, I am excited because I've been following you for quite some time now on LinkedIn, and your messages are quite human. They are awesome. They touch the heart. They are very warm. And I want to hear how you do that. So I would wish that our audience can learn a little bit more as well. So that's why you're here. Thank you very much for being here. And before we start, please tell our audience who Maria Navarro is.
So I am now 28 years old, turned 28 last week. So I'm still getting used to saying the number. I am born and raised in Mexico, so I grew up there my whole life. I went to school for hospitality management and business administration as well. So I kind of got a little bit of the best of both worlds. And then it wasn't until my last year that I was an intern at a hotel in Rhode Island. So they rotated me like a manager in training position, from front of the house, food and beverage, housekeeping, everything that there is to do in a hotel. And that's where really my passion really grew for hospitality. And I said, this is exactly what I want to keep doing for the rest of my life. Because during college and stuff, I worked in wedding planning and events, but nothing really as big as going to a hotel and actually working. So I went there, and then I went back home to Mexico. And then I went back here to the States. I'm currently living in New Jersey. And I got a job at a local hotels and restaurants in town. Then I moved on to a food and beverage supervisor position here in New Jersey as well. And it wasn't until last year and a half when I really stopped, because there was a voice in my head that kept saying you really love writing. There's something we can do. My family, my friends have mentioned it a couple of times because I used to do it for them, just as a hobby, as something that I love to do. But I never really thought of it as a career or something that I could really develop. So that's when I just quit my job, and I've been doing this full time, this copywriting business that I just started for myself.
That's awesome. That's cool. And how was the life in the hotel?
It was, as anyone who's ever worked in a hotel, they know it's crazy and it's fun and time literally flies by. But for me, like I said, it was really when I discovered that even though I struggled and I had my challenges, I was like, this is really what I want to keep doing, for the rest of my life. It's a career that I chose, not only for school, but then, because some people go to school for something and then they end up doing something completely different, and that's totally fine. Exactly. For me, it was like, okay, so it's not only what I learned in books and practices and stuff like that, it's really the day-to-day experiences that you have in hospitality that really caught my heart. So that it was crazy, but I loved it. I loved it.
That's cool. And now you said that you started your own business because of copywriting. So was a calling to you? Was everyone telling you about, and you start the business? So tell me about the business as well.
So it was really, like you said, it was like a calling, because it was always something that I loved to do, but I just thought of it as a hobby, something that I wrote things for myself, like a journal and stuff like that. Nothing ever really for somebody else to read. So one day when I was thinking about starting a copywriting business, I was like, what is exactly copywriting? I've never really thought of it that way. So I was looking and I was digging into everything. And then I posted a blog online in a blog site. It wasn't really a website or anything professional. I just wanted to do that to get over the fear, somebody else reading my work and somebody else basically reading my mind. So I posted it, and it's called "Why Does Working in Hospitality Change You as a Person?" And the picture is like a picture of me on top of the polishing racks, eating a slice of pizza, one of my shifts back in the hotel. And I guess the picture, along with the title, caught people's attention. And that's where on LinkedIn and people were reaching out to me thinking that I had already a business in writing. So I was like, I need to have a business yesterday. So that's really what got me there. It was just the one blog that was really raw, really natural. It wasn't really edited. And I remember thinking to myself, if I edit this too much, it's going to change a lot. So I'm just going to get it out there. So that's really what got me started into the business.
So is that a blog post that you are sitting down, eating a pizza sitting down in the kitchen?
There's my one blog that went viral even today. I think it surpassed like 200,000 views. It's the picture of the blog. It's literally me sitting on top of the rack, eating a slice of pizza in my uniform. Like I was wearing half a uniform for the day and then half a uniform for the night. My only break, and I kind of broke down why do I think that working in this industry really changes you as an individual, not only as a professional. So people really reached out and they were like, oh my God, I know those floors, I know those racks, oh, I know the feeling. So that kind of like pulled people into reading the blog.
Like I share your point. I didn't know that, right? I'm getting surprised right now because I remember sharing this.
Oh my God!
Yes, I remember sharing it. Also,
it was me, Mauricio. It was me.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Wow, you're a famous person. Okay.
See, the world is really small. The world is really small.
That's incredible. Like you just said, the world's very small. It's so funny that last week I was interviewing Ian Schultz, that our podcast just being released today. And we found out that we were neighbors in Australia, and the head chef, like we shared the same head chef in two different jobs because we had two jobs. So he was working with me and working with him. And then he said like, yeah, there's a proof that the world is really small and you always need to behave in your best because you don't know when you're going to meet people again. So that's the message. Yeah. Amazing that I just found out about you now. And what's the name of your brand now? Sorry.
So my business is called Maria Writing. So simple, very easy to remember, and it's literally Maria Writing. Like you can see my sweatshirt here, my website, everything is just called my name in writing. So it's easy.
And what type of challenges, like do your customers come to you to help solve?
So like I said, most of my customers and I decided to go only with businesses that are within the hospitality industry. So whether it's wedding planning or restaurants, software development for restaurants or hotels, anything that's within the industry, that's where I can help because that's where I find my passion to be at and my expertise. I cannot write about something that I don't really know, so I'd rather focus on this. So most people that reach out to me, it's funny because I think I was telling you this last time we talked, they are really interested exactly in that. The fact that I call myself a hospitality copywriter, because they feel like when it's something that's online, they're missing the human touch or the human essence, or like you said at first, something that kind of pulls your heart or pulls your strength in some ways. So they feel like they need to add that to their businesses. So that's the one thing that they mostly struggle with, just getting that point across, whether it's on a newsletter, social media post, a blog, or whatever kind of content they need, just that human touch, I guess.
If I could ask you something like that, the people listening today would leave at least now, if they have to drop this thing now because there's something happening, but they would leave with something, okay, I learned something that I didn't know. Something new, something that was worth of my time, really, this was amazing. Okay, what would that be when it comes to copywriting?
When it comes to copywriting, and at the top of my head, I would say trust your gut and your instincts. Make your writing relatable. And a tip that I apply to myself and I would encourage anybody listening to is write down any idea that you might come up with. It may sound silly. It may sound like, oh, no, I'm never going to use that. When I first started, I asked myself, how the heck am I going to write about things every day, every week? Like, where's my creativity going to come up with? It's like a struggle for most people. So I'll watch TV, I'll go on a walk, and I'll think of something, and then that would ended up being a blog that reached, so many people, like I was telling you. So trust your gut when it comes to creativity. If you get blocked or if you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, I have no inspiration, just write your ideas. And when you sit down again, you're going to be like, oh, this makes sense now. So that for me is a tip that could be used by anybody. And if they're looking to write content, that's a number one thing that I would do again.
And you use the word relatable, to relate to what you're writing. And how can you get people to relate to the text?
I would say rely on an emotion. For me, when I first started writing, my goal was to write for my past self. So I would always have in mind, what would young Maria, 20-year-old Maria would have needed to hear when she was starting in the industry? what would you need to know? What kind of characteristics? So just think of somebody, in my case, it was my past self, but you can think of somebody else that might be an inspiration to you and be like, how can I relate to that person? Like, what can make me, feel connected? So rely on your emotions. And like I said, just trust your gut with your ideas and make your own voice. We all have different points of view, and that really comes across when you read something from somebody. So that's awesome that we can all have a different, experience to add to it.
Now you said another one that triggered me, like being personal, right? And
yes.
What's your view on AI?
For the hospitality industry in general?
Well, yes, in copywriting for hospitality.
In general, I obviously think that it could be very efficient and it could help out a lot of businesses. For the hospitality industry in particular, I don't think things are going to change that much because, like I said, I get businesses not every day talking to me, but I get them pretty often saying, hey, we don't want AI content, because people end up not really reading it. They don't click, they don't buy, they don't subscribe. So it's really just about, like I said, using an emotion that AI is incapable of grabbing and connecting that with people. So even though it might function in different areas of an operation, of a restaurant, or any other thing, I believe for the hospitality industry, you still need someone to be typing and calling and making people feel good. Even if it's online, even if it's through a screen, you still need to hear that voice. You still need to feel the goosebumps when you're reading something that you like. And that's something that only a human being can do, in my opinion.
No, that's great. And it's great to coming from someone young, because I have the feeling that a lot of managers, a lot of senior managers are using AI thinking that like, oh, the young people are using that, so it doesn't matter, right? We are talking their language. But then when it comes from you, that's saying that the feeling, the touch, the face-to-face is important. Maybe it's a wake-up call, for our industry to relate to that. Really, really, really cool. And so we're talking about AI. So let's talk about future. Because we've been in like troubled waters right now in hospitality, right? Like so much has changed in the last 3-4 years. We went from the super high of 2019 to the lowest low of 2020. And then we got flooded by technology. At the same time, everyone left the industry. So we're getting punched by every single side. But we keep growing. People still want to enjoy their free time. Yeah. If I could ask you how you see hospitality in the next 5-10 years, what do you think that's going to happen?
I think, and maybe more so, I hope that it would become even, like you said, stronger and more personable than ever before. And if COVID specifically changes, it changed everything. It really taught us how to connect with people, even when, circumstances seemed impossible, how we were all wearing masks and you could barely see our smile and you could only see our eyes, but people would still appreciate that so much when finally we got to see each other, we got to connect. People would still go out to eat, and like you said, people need to travel, people want to feel that connection. So I feel like this industry is never going to stop, even with technology advances. So my hope would be for people like yourself, like me, like anybody else who's listening and who's ever worked in hospitality or maybe wants to work but has never been in the industry, just give yourself a chance, because we only need one person to spark that inside of us. For me, it was one of my old managers, and I was like, wow, she embodies hospitality, and that pulled me. That was like what sparked me. So if I can be that for someone else, and then that someone else can be that person for somebody else, it's all going to be like a growing, more kind and personable industry. And it may sound a little bit cliche or like, oh, it's never going to happen, but I do believe that if we keep on doing that and giving ourselves a chance, we might just get an even better industry than we have one today.
Fingers crossed, Maria. Fingers crossed.
Right? Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And before we go, two things. What are your specialties?
In terms of copywriting,
Yes.
I would say blogs and social media and newsletters. I think those three are exactly what I do almost on a daily basis, and I really enjoy doing them.
And how can people contact you and hire your services?
You guys can contact me at mariawriting.com, which is my personal website. I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can find me Maria Navarro or Maria Writing as well. I'm on Instagram with the same name at Maria Writing. And I'd be happy to just hear from you guys.
That's awesome, Maria. I'll put all the links on our description of the chat. I'll share your contacts. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for chatting to me. I loved it. I love the energy that you have.
Me too.
I love it. And I hope that's really what that love that you put in touch more hearts out there. And we can not only manage to continue growing the businesses, but also touching people's hearts to come and work with us, come back to hospitality, and make that a great place to work again.
Couldn't have said it any better, Mauricio. Exactly.
Thank you very much, Maria. Schulering.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Schulering. Bye.